This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. As part of the government's efforts to guide the nation back to fiscal stability, a private sector debt advisory committee has been formed to advise the Ministry of Finance on the nation's debt strategy. Prime Minister Philip Davis making that announcement during his supplementary budget communication for 2021-2022 in the lower chamber on Wednesday. The committee, according to the Prime Minister, will be chaired by James Smith, former Minister of State for Finance, and will have representatives from domestic as well as international financial institutions based in the Bahamas.
My government appreciates the gravity of our debt situation and is determined to restore our fiscal credibility and the confidence of international markets. Since assuming office, both the Minister of Economic Affairs and the Financial Secretary have been holding meetings with rating agencies, financial institutions, and lenders to carry the message that the risk of default is non-existent, and this administration is ready to guide the nation back to fiscal stability.
The Prime Minister noting that despite supplementary changes, the debt forecasted by the previous administration will not change, even though he says the former government's borrowing has resulted in increased burden of interest payments on the country's debt.
Billions of dollars, Bahamian dollars, sitting in banks, the former administration opted to borrow approximately $2 billion or 64% of all government borrowings in foreign currency over the recent fiscal year. Unfortunately, visibly poor fiscal management, confidence, please remember that word, confidence in the Bahamian government weakened in international markets, and our government bonds are trading at distressed levels, 5 notches below the level indicated by our credit rating. Foreign currency borrowing at the levels experienced in the last 3 years is not sustainable. The domestic market has a much larger capacity to support government debt issuances. We need our domestic financial institutions to show faith in the economy by participating significantly in the domestic financial market.
Prime Minister Davis says the government will also make amendments to the Public Debt Management Act, adding that to assist the work of the committee, the government will engage an independent international debt advisory firm, with one of the first most urgent issues for the Debt Advisory Committee being to assist the Bahamas in tapping into greater levels of domestic and green financing. A man is dead this afternoon after he was struck by a vehicle late Wednesday night. Police are now investigating this traffic fatality that occurred in the area of Robinson Road and Pedolio Street. Police reports say initial investigations reveal that the victim was walking along Robinson Road when he was struck by a vehicle that left the scene shortly before 12 midnight. Police were informed, traffic investigators responded, and on their arrival at the scene, they found a male lying in the street unresponsive. Emergency medical services visited the scene, and following their investigation of the body, the male was pronounced lifeless. Police will await an identification by a next of kin to determine the victim's identity. This matter remains under active investigation. The Bahamas and the United States share some of the same challenges when it comes to maritime security, and for that reason, the U.S. and Bahamian government continue to build and reinforce its strategic partnership, especially in the area of maritime surveillance. Dorino Saunders attended a handing over ceremony at the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Coral Harbor Base on Thursday, where the U.S. government has taken a major step to reinforce its cooperation with the Bahamas.
At the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Coral Harbor Base on Thursday, the U.S. government officially handed over a multi-million-dollar radar system that will go a long way in the battle against illegal migration, poaching, drugs, guns, and human smuggling in the southern and northern Bahamas. U.S. Army General Glenn Van Herk, who has the responsibility of protecting the U.S. border on all North American fronts, including Canada, Mexico, and the Bahamas, explained the capability of the new radar system, with each tower rising several hundred feet into the air.
The advanced surveillance system you see here to my right and slightly behind me, ultimately consisting of multiple radar sites, as you've heard, will increase maritime domain awareness and dramatically expand the Royal Bahamas Defense Force's ability to detect, localize, and track vessels in the waters surrounding your nation and our nation, the United States of America.
This radar system is only the second in a series of multiple maritime surveillance radar sites across the Bahamas. U.S. Charge d'Affaires Yusha Pitts recognizes how difficult it is for the government of the Bahamas to protect all of the islands and says the radar system is key to Bahamian sovereignty.
So this is the second radar. There are other radar systems that Northcom is going to donate, and it gives me great pleasure because, you know, Commodore King, I really sympathize with you. This country with 2,000 islands and keys, it must be just a security nightmare. It really is. And so the more time I spend here, the more I realize how difficult it is to administer this archipelago on so many levels, but especially on the security level. So I am very proud that the U.S. military and the RBDF can cooperate to help the Bahamas truly gain control over their own territory.
Wayne Monroe, the Minister of National Security, says the complexity of maritime security is broad in scope and no single nation can address it alone. He says the radar systems will indeed help the National Security Ministry fulfill its mandate.
Today's handing over and commissioning of the long-range coastal radar is a step in the fulfillment of that mandate. The installation of this new radar will truly strengthen the Royal Bahamas Defense Force's capacity through better domain awareness, domain control, and institutional capacity building. Our government is grateful to the government of the United States of America, particularly the Department of Defense, for the donation of a $2.4 million long-range coastal radar as an added dimension to our security efforts.
Prime Minister Philip Davis was not originally scheduled to attend the ceremony, but thought it important enough to be there. On behalf of the people of the Bahamas, he thanked the U.S. government for its continued partnership.
On behalf of the government of the Bahamas, I wish to extend our gratitude to the U.S. government for the generous donation of the Coral Harbor MSS radar, which will aid us in combating illegal drugs and weapons, human smuggling, and poaching, and other prohibited activities within our waters. My government is committed to upholding our immigration laws and securing the borders of all islands within our archipelago.
Prime Minister Davis is pleased about the radar system being placed in known hotspots for illegal migration, trafficking, and poaching around the Bahamas. The Prime Minister says his government is serious about protecting the borders of the Bahamas, which in turn also helps the U.S. protect its borders. Jcn Saunders for JCN News.
You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.